Hello! In Chapter 4, the lesson of vitamins and minerals, we're going to investigate the following objectives. Define minerals, classify minerals into polyatomic and monoatomic ions, classify minerals into trace and macro minerals, define vitamins, classify vitamins into hydrosoluble and liposoluble, and finally infer the effect of excessive consumption of each type of vitamins. As a revision, if we're going to match the element that correspond to each class constituting from it. So in the class of carbohydrates, the simple carbohydrates, they are formed from carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. In the class of lipids, they are formed from carbon, hydrogen, and also oxygen. And for the complex lipids, we could have nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur. For proteins, proteins are formed from carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and the important element, nitrogen. They could be formed also from sulfur, phosphorus, copper, and iron Fe. Now what about minerals? In fact, minerals do not contain any of these elements listed here. Minerals, they contain chemical elements other than carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen and nitrogen. They are needed for the function of the human body that should be imported by food. This means that they are not synthesized by the human body. The form under which minerals are used by the human body in the form of salts or ions, such as K+, Mg2+, Ca2+, and so on. Here we have some examples of minerals. As you can see, the minerals, they are all in the form of ions and salts. If we want to classify these minerals into two groups, you can see here two groups, Group A and the Group B. Take a look at this classification and infer the criterion of the classification done. The criterion of classification, it is according to the number of elements in the ion. So here in the first group, Group A, all the minerals, they are made up from one element. So we have Ca2+, it's made up only from one Ca. 2 here is only a charge. Mg2+ only from one Mg. Na+ only from one Na, and so on. Whereas in Group B, we have more than one element. So for example, in HbO42-, we have H, P, and 4 oxygen atoms. By referring to the following definitions, monoatomic ion, it is the ion formed from one element, and polyatomic ion, it is the ion formed from more than one element. How can we give a title for each group? So because the monoatomic is formed from one element, then Group A would have the title monoatomic ions, and Group B, polyatomic ions that are formed from more than one element. Another criterion of classification. You can see here a list of minerals needed by the body, and for each mineral, it is assigned the amount needed by the body in milligram per day. So how much we need from each mineral in a day in milligram. So for example, copper 1.2, magnesium 300, and so on. These minerals are classified into two groups, Group A and the Group B. Take a look at the given and infer what's the criterion of the classification here. In fact, these are classified according to the amount of mineral needed by the body. So, if the body needs low amount of the mineral, such as copper 1.2, fluoride for example 5, iodide 0.14, these minerals, they are needed by the body in relatively low amounts. Whereas in Group B, such as sodium for example 5000 mg per day, calcium 700 mg per day. They are classified in group B. So, if we have as a given that macro minerals, they are the minerals needed by the body in the amounts greater than 100 mg per day, and trace minerals, they are the minerals needed by the body in amounts less than 20 mg per day, how can we give a title for each group? Therefore, according to these definitions, Group A would have a title trace minerals because these minerals are needed by the body by an amount which is less than 20 mg per day. So this is the limit for the mineral to be assigned as a trace mineral. So if you take a look, copper is needed by an amount 1.2 mg per day. Therefore, it is a trace mineral because it is needed by the body in an amount less than 20 mg per day. Pay attention to mention the unit in your justification. Another example, why calcium is a macro mineral? Because in the given, calcium is needed by an amount 700. So, because calcium is needed by an amount that is greater than 100 mg per day, therefore calcium is a macro mineral. Vitamins. Vitamins, they are organic compounds that cannot be synthesized by the human body, but are essential in small amounts for the proper functioning of the human body. The consequences of lack of vitamins, it reduces the growth rate and causes specific deficiency diseases. Also, we can classify vitamins into two groups. These are the vitamins that they are required from you as a study. We have vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K grouped in the first group, which are the vitamins soluble in lipids. Whereas vitamin C and vitamin B, they are placed in group 2, which are the vitamins that are soluble in water. If we have as a given that the two classes of vitamins are called hydrosoluble and liposoluble vitamins, then how can we give a title for each group? Therefore, the first group would be named liposoluble because they are soluble in lipids. And the second group would be named hydrosoluble vitamins because they are soluble in water. Now, what's the effect of excessive consumption of vitamins? This depends on the type of vitamin, whether it is liposoluble or hydrosoluble. If we read here the effect of vitamins excessive consumption, we have two effects. The first effect, they are stored in fat tissues and then they become toxic. The second effect, they are rapidly eliminated from the body in the urine and unlikely to be toxic except when taken in unusually large doses. Which one do you think it is the effect of the excessive consumption of hydrosoluble vitamins? It's clear that the second one is for the hydrosoluble vitamins and the first one is for the liposoluble vitamins. So from the effect we can know that the excessive consumption of liposoluble vitamins, it is the one that they are stored in fat tissues and then they become toxic. A final conclusion. Minerals are chemical elements in the form of ions needed for the functioning of a human body that should be imported by food. Vitamins are organic compounds that cannot be synthesized by the human body but are essential in small amounts for the proper functioning of the human body. Minerals can be classified according to the number of elements found in the ion into monoatomic if it is only one element or polyatomic ion if it is more than one element. Another criterion for the classification of minerals by the amount needed by the body, if it is less than 20 mg per day, it's a trace mineral, or macro mineral if it's greater than 100 mg per day. Vitamins can be classified into liposoluble when they are soluble in lipids or hydrosoluble when they are soluble in water. In case of excessive consumption of Liposoluble vitamins, they are stored in fat tissues and then they become toxic, whereas in hydrosoluble vitamins, they are eliminated rapidly from the body in the urine and are unlikely to be toxic except when taken in unusually large doses. As an assignment, you have to study the summary sheet and homework the extra sheet of vitamins and minerals.